I used to think that a healthy relationship meant never fighting. So when Malik and I would argue, I'd panic a little. I wouldn't talk, I just needed space. Not because I didn't love him, but because I didn't know how to process what I was feeling fast enough. And Malik, he was the same way. We'd both retreat. We'd walk around the house like polite strangers for a few hours, sometimes days. The love was still there, but the distance started to grow in those gaps. Then one day, after a disagreement about something small, I don't even remember what it was, I went upstairs expecting the usual silence. But Malik came in with 2 cups of tea, sat down beside me and said, "Let's not do the disappearing act this time." That moment changed everything. Not because the problem disappeared, but because we decided to come back quicker. Now we have this thing. When we argue, we take 15 minutes max. That's it. We pause, pray, and then come back to the table. Even if we're not fully ready, we at least reconnect. We stop focusing on how many arguments we had and start focusing on how we recover. Because the truth is, it's not about being perfect, it's about not letting silence turn into separation. And the faster we return to each other, the stronger we get. This is now one of my favorite things about us.
Be okay, girl, there ain't nothing I wouldn't do. If they gave me everything, I would give it all away for you. With you, I know I'll be okay. Girl, there ain't nothing I wouldn't do.
We met on a dating app called Black People Meet, and then from there we started texting. We called each other a couple of times until we met in person.
How long have you guys been together?
It would have been about almost 2 years, so February of 2022. Yeah.
So what do you think has been the biggest shift in your relationship since you guys got married? Like, what is the biggest shift, how you feel?
That's a good question.
I think one thing is we always had God in the center of our relationship. So no matter whatever we went through, or, we always kind of refer back to God, and, that's how we kind of push forward, just having that faith, I think just talking to each other, communicating, that helped out a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would also say the biggest shift was going out on that limb and knowing for sure that it's just the two of us, and that's all that's needed.
Yeah. Once we made that decision, it was easier for us to just continue and move forward, with what we wanted, not what everyone else wanted.
So was it a different feeling from when y'all was just dating and now that you're married?
Absolutely.
If so, describe that.
Yeah, for me it was like okay, we're doing this on our own. This is us. We got this. It was exciting and fresh. In the beginning, it was really exciting and really fresh. When we first met and then we first got to know each other, and then we decided this is what we're gonna do. We don't need nobody else. It's just us. Then from there, it just was we got even more excited just about life and just about the future. So.
Absolutely. We've always had that connection ever since day one when we met in person. Even before then, when we were just talking on the phone, 2 hours here, 4 hours there. But after we got married, it was a whole different kind of connection.
Yeah.
And it really shifted things in a good way.
Yeah.
Talk to us about a little bit of, what happened when you were excited about meeting each other, and then you thought about, okay, this is the person I'm going to marry. You envision your life together, and then something happened that may allow for you guys not to even make it to that point. Talk a little bit about that, and
Yeah, so we'll start off with when I first met her, right, I had this book that, I've been waiting to read for like 7 years. It was called The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And I opened the book up, and the first thing that it said was, if this is better for you to read it with somebody. At that point, I closed the book. I said, okay. I took it as a sign from God that maybe I'll read it, and whoever I read it with is going to be that one, right? So the first day we met in person, we actually read the first chapter of that book, and then we finished the entire book, in the amount of time that we finished it. And from there until we had our first disagreement, it was something that we both kind of had to dig down deep and kind of analyze what exactly happened, and then from there, talk about it. And it was really hard because we're both similar when we respond.
We get angry the same way.
Where we close off and we don't want to say nothing, and we distance ourselves from each other. And that's what we witness is the worst thing that we can do is just distance ourselves from each other. And then after like a while, we learned that once we have issues, we can bounce back really quick, just because that's kind of how we both are. We both understand each other. We both understand how we are as individuals. And I think that helped to understand how she was similar to me, so that in my mind at home, I'm thinking like, you know what, she's going through the same thing, that I'm going through. So either I will call her first or she'll call me back. It's like reciprocative, so we're both kind of like, be the first on whatever side to reach out. No matter what, one of us is going to be the first to reach out to each other.
So tell me a little bit about, so if you think about maybe early on in some of your relationships, what's something you understand better about the sacrifices necessary to sustain love that you didn't understand when you were younger in relationships?
Sacrifice, telling everybody everything. And even in times of like when you don't agree with what he's saying, taking the time to try to understand and not let outside opinions influence what you have come to learn in love about this person. So.
Yeah, and for me, it was kind of like letting go of my own way of thinking. I thought things had to be a kind of a certain type of way. And then when I kind of became open to like what God might have in store for me, let me try things that way. For me, that was my kind of barriers, like being open to, because I was closed off like most of my life. So when I made that decision to just be open-minded and to just give it a try and to trust the process and to trust that God is with me the whole time and he's in this, that kind of was like my anchor to like continue and push forward and to not like fall for like, anything in the past that may have kept me in a situation far more than I needed to be in it. So it's just really it's just God, for me. He's like the person that I go to, keep me on that path of like, hey, this is where you're supposed to go. And then there's a lot of confirmations that happen along the way that let me know that she was the right choice.
Sounds like growth to me.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Absolutely.
You could be one way for many years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that you can't learn the new way.
Yes.
When you do learn that new way, that that shows that you can make change. So that's big. That's huge. And sometimes it takes the right person to come in your life also for you to be able to do that. So sounds like you guys got a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Now that we talked about all the birds and the butterflies, let's talk about, sometimes in relationships, we come across a situation or, an instance where, it kind of takes us off the track that we really want to be. You guys, you could tell you love each other, you're sincere, you're compatible, you got that chemistry and everything. Talk to us a little bit about, there was a time where you guys possibly couldn't have made it, you know, to the point where you knew when you were getting married, you had a date in mind, you guys discussed some details, and then it kind of took slight of a turn. You know, in life, you know, it's okay. We've all gone through one thing or another. Rather it's with making a decision to be with someone, it could be just making other decisions about anything. But talk to us a little bit about how you went from excited, you met each other, you've been together for almost 2 years, you're talking about getting married, to it almost not even happening.
I got that started off.
Yeah. One word, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because this is I only plan to get married once. And so I plan to only be proposed to once, to only be engaged once, to have one ceremony, one joyous event, and for that to have a ugly shadow, and the thought of that not happening. And I'm very particular in who I select to be my husband. So once all the boxes were checked and he got on that knee, and then to have that kind of have the possibility of disappearing, it was heartbreaking. And because not only was I, you know, possibly losing the person I wanted to spend my life with, but also that women in general, they have an idea in mind of what it'll be like when they get engaged, what it'll be like going through the process of planning your wedding and your marriage, and so that was taken away too. And so again, it was just a heartbreaking situation, especially when it comes to family. We are very big on family, and when it comes to family disagreeing with something that you know in your heart is right, that's another thing that made it really heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I'll definitely take like my situation into account where, you know, my mother didn't really think that it was early enough she thought it was too soon for both of us. Regardless of the fact, we were like, hey, we'll fly you out here, you know. And she was like, you know, she would rather, you know, do her own thing, have her own money when she's out here and stuff like that, if that's the case. But I, you know, that I think what I was telling Jeanine is that like a mother really has like 3 umbilical cords, right? The day you were born, the day you become a teenager, and then or an adult, and then the day you get married, the day a man chooses his wife. So, and I think that, you know, that's something that's really hard for, you know, like that's one of the core reasons why we kind of went through what we went through, you know, because I really wanted them there, but they didn't want to be there. So for me, it was kind of getting past that and seeing, you know, what is it that I want, you know, like what makes me happy, you know. Jeanine makes me very happy, you know, and just having God as our anchor, you know, I'm always driven back to, you know, we're not here to prove them right. We're here to prove God right, you know. So that kind of was like my anchor to take a situation like that, and kind of, because I was set on a day. I knew I wanted to propose to Jeanine pretty much the first day I met her. It was all just timing and stuff like that, you know. I knew her favorite time of the season was fall, so I knew it had to happen in the fall. I had a date. I told her the date. I told her the day was going to happen. And eventually I told my parents, because one of the mistakes I made in the past was letting them know too much. So I kind of kept them out of our relationship for a minute until I was like, hey, you know, I proposed. And when I told them that, then that's when that whole situation came up. And it was like, oh, that's fine. I'll just pay for you guys. We'll just pay for you guys to come on out here. And then at that point, they were like, you know, so that was one hurdle that I had to kind of come over, you know, and I overcame that based off of past experience. For me, it's kind of easy in a way. I mean, it hurts a little bit, but it's easy to kind of make that transition, because for me, it's, you know, I'm not that, you know, that little boy anymore, you know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man, and I have, you know, God is with me and this is the right thing to do and we're going to do this. The great thing about it was that we were able to come together on this, decision and, make this decision on our own to like, hey, we got to do this. Keep everybody else out and let's just do this for us,
So basically, you're saying that, the family had a little bit of stock into what the decision that you've already made to turn that a little bit to a different direction.
Yeah.
Obviously, we love family. We want our family to be on board. We want our family to support us and celebrate us. And it can be confusing when it's a little bit different than what we expect or what we want. And then at that point is when we have to make the decision and say, hey, you know what? Am I going to make this about me and the person that I want to be with, or should it be about them when they've either already lived their life or they're still living their life the way they want to, So yeah, thanks for sharing. I think the last part of the question outside of, I think another question that ended is, so you guys came to the conclusion that, okay, we met each other. This is somebody I can see myself with. We love each other. And, I want to marry this person, possibly have kids and all that great stuff. Two, the wedding may not happen because our families is not in alignment. And turning that into, y'all ended up still getting married. So how? Like, how did it go from you guys went to not possibly get married to now, what the heck, we're gonna do this thing?
Well, we just made it happen. No matter what, it was us that's gonna be in a relationship at the end of the day. It was our decision. We had to live with, each other, at the end of the day, not with anybody else. So I think at the end of the day, it was just going with what we believed kept us together the whole time, which was God. He kept us together, he kept us anchored, but it really took a lot from both of us to kind of analyze and then kind of see, our parts and what we played in, making that happen and coming to this decision to, no matter what, let's just do this,
And thinking about everything and everyone, I know that both sides just want us to be happy.
Yeah.
And we're happiest with each other. And so at the end of the day, it's a win-win. If we're together, our family should be happy.
So what made you guys decide to elope as opposed to going through the traditional wedding ceremony?
Yeah. So in the midst of us going through what we had went through, we were really at that point where we weren't really talking, and that's when Sophia actually reached out to me, and when we were talking, I reached out to them, and then they reached out to me, and we were talking about it, and she kind of talked me through it, like, hey, I understand the whole family situation, but if you love Jeanine, if this is really what you want in your heart, then you have to kind of go with what makes you happy. And if this is what you want, if she makes you happy, then even if you have to like elope or anything like that, just make it about you two, then go ahead and do that. Whatever makes y'all happy,
And the funny thing is, I was thinking about that already as like a resolution, but
so we
me
had the
and
same
Anthony
mind.
weren't speaking, so I didn't know where his head was at, but I was already thinking about eloping to be the resolution without any stress or anything. And it really stood out to have the support of family, and those nuggets of people to hear us, like Sophia and Aaron, as we traveled through the uncertainty of what we were gonna do. So
how has this is a question for each of you. You can take it whatever order you want.
Okay.
What are the ways in which each of you have made you better? So what is the way that Anthony has made you a better person in this world, and what's the way that Jeanine has made you better?
I love this question.
Me too. Yeah, so much.
Mostly because I thought back on this question before I ever met Anthony. I was in college and I always wanted someone who makes me better than who I am. And I don't want to sound big-headed, but I'm pretty good on my own. So when I met Anthony, he made me better with his integrity, with his honesty, with his character, and his love. That's what made me better.
And I love this question too, because that's why we were so similar, because we have this like similar mindset. And for Jeanine, you know, I like the way that she sees things that nobody else sees, and you know how she loves is like very, very unconditional, and it's unquestionable. And that's kind of what, you know, my whole life I've been kind of searching for, like that, you know, that faith that she has, the you know, the love that she has is just unconditional. And I feel like I needed that in my life, and she makes me better because of that, you know. And she just helps me like every day, just kind of like learn her more and kind of, you know, learn how to love her more, you know.
What do you think your love power is? And it's funny we say that now, because I don't think it's changed, but we've been doing so much development in this program. I think we've been thinking so much about all the different ways in which, but I believe I said my love power was consistency.
I think you did say that.
Consistency. Because I'm a person who loves with all his heart. And I'm very, very consistent with that always. And so, I'm trying to remember what you said your love power was.
It was different, but today I'm gonna say influence, because if you pick the right person, they can influence you in a better way that helps you be a better person. Which is when we asked y'all that question, y'all said what y'all like about each other. So obviously that's something that you try to think, like maybe I can, you know, take that trait and apply it to how I, you know, because you can always add to, you can always take away and then add to. So I would say, right now I would say influence, because I know that Aaron he's you know, he's the way that he loves, the way that he gives, the way that he pours out is, he doesn't think twice, he just does it. When it comes to like, you know, how he's being genuine about giving out to me, to his family. So yeah, and there's a lot of things about him that I can learn, like being patient. Yeah, I probably need to learn a little bit more about. I've been praying for that for years, but God's still working with me on that one. But it's good when you have someone that you're around all the time that is like that all the time. And it makes me think like, I can be patient too. Okay. If he could do it, then I need to try. So, yeah. So, what's your superpower?
Oh,
It's a good question.
like our own individual, we think, right? Oh, okay. I like to say that I think that my superpower would have to be
Or love power.
my love power.
Oh,
I'm
love
sorry.
power.
Love power.
I'm so, because that could mean something totally different.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, it's funny because I'm the documentarian, so I'm like, wherever you go,
Yeah.
could be better than the questions she asked. You know, it's
I'm
just like-
sorry. Your love, what is your love power? I'm sorry.
So I believe that my love power is discernment, patience. You know, I think that because of my patience and my discernment, it allows me to see her the way that God sees her, you know. And, you know, yeah, I think that's my superpower, my love power. Just patience and discernment. Yeah.
I like that. What would be my love power? I don't know how to put it into words. I'm very big on attention to detail and giving comfort and love where needed. And accommodate, yes. And so one thing about Anthony, when we first met, he was like a true bachelor. Like, no food in the refrigerator, like no utensils, no real plates, all paper plates. And the first thing I asked was like, when was the last time you had a home cooked meal? And so I bade him some food, and that was one of the things that I noticed, was that he eats out a lot, and he when he comes home, he's not really home because he doesn't have, like, you know, those things that make you feel comfortable. And I remember when he got sick with COVID, and he was like, oh, I don't even have spoons. And then he realized that, you know, I got him silverware so he can actually eat a soup with spoons. And it's just, it's just little things that I noticed he needed, but he didn't really know that he needed it yet. And so, yeah, I don't know what love power that would be, but I just have a keen attention to detail, and I love to do for him with
Very
whatever
caring.
he needs. Yeah.
Very caring.
Okay.
Are there any questions you guys would want to ask either of us?
I think there is, huh? Maybe.
Yes. So when you started doing this, like with different couples and everything, what is your most memorable love power that you can recall?
Which one's kind of unique?
Well, I like when we had Anthony and Jill, and Anthony pretty much told each of us, because he does readings.
Oh.
So he told both of us pretty much how we are, in a sense.
Yeah, without knowing us.
Without, I mean, he
It
doesn't know us deeply like that.
And it was like he just kind of.
He was pretty much on mark.
Right on target with, like,
He was very
how we were different, and then he was saying how, because we were different and because we know our differences, this is why our relationship works so well, is because we have a different approach to, like, a lot of different things. Like, whereas there are times where something might, like, an issue might be happening, and I might be like, well, we don't even have to deal with that. We don't even have to address it. Like, not everything doesn't require your energy. But she might look at it and be like, well, no, someone was wrong and they need to know they're wrong, right? And so that's just the differences. But he was just saying how there are instances where her way's the right way and my way's, the right way. And we just kind of know how to oscillate between that, and we respect each other. So, when those things arise, if arise, and I realize whatever it is, she really needs to work through it, or she just feels so strongly that it would be worse for her to not say something. I just respect that. And I think that's one of the things, and like learning, like how to love your person. And and it takes back to the one thing I tell a lot of couples is, like, if we're in conflict, if I'm right, if I win the conflict, we lose. And so it's never about that. We have to come to a place to where we both can figure out a way to move forward, that we both feel good about whatever we're working through. And so some people are so trying to, like, win something that you're literally destroying your connection, because that should never be the goal. It should always be, how do we get to a better place than where we are, so that this situation that we're dealing with doesn't happen again.
I have a great follow-up question. What's the anchor that brings you guys together during difficult times?
God, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
we already know. I mean, it's important to know him and to have a relationship individually, but when you're both in sync with that, it just makes everything better, easier. I mean, we like, when you're in your home, you feel safe, you feel covered, you don't feel like there's any harm that's going to come your way. You're not feeling like you need to protect yourself, if that makes sense. When you're outside of your door, now you're in armor one way or another. You know, when it's cold, you put your coat on because you got to protect yourself from the cold air, right? When you're in the car, not only do you have to get yourself to wherever you have to get yourself to, but if a car hits you, you're covered, right? There's always some kind of protection. You don't know how someone's going to react to something. You can cut somebody off, didn't even realize you cut somebody off. Next thing you know, they're following you, trying to hunt you down. And all types of things happen out there. So, you know, at the end of the day, when you're, where did I start?
Well, I mean, you were talking about God and like how
Yes.
God brought us together. But if you knew everything that happened the day we met, it was nothing but God and angels. I almost got in the way because I was just like, our mutual friend invited us out. For whatever reason that day, I just didn't want to go socialize. I was like, I don't want to socialize. Like, I just want to stay here in my apartment. And then my 16-year-old daughter just looked at me and was like, Dad, you're acting weird. Your friends are inviting you out. Leave, right? And so, but it was just a really interesting day, and like so many things happened, I think, to make me realize, like, no, actually, if you're not in this place, if you're not here today, in this moment, you guys aren't gonna meet, and this magic is not gonna happen. And so, because in the parking lot, I don't know if you knew this, but in the parking lot, when she came in where we were gonna meet, she ended a situation. She was actually getting to know a guy, and she broke up with that, or ended that situation in the parking lot, not knowing that, you know, what anything was gonna happen. So all these things happened, and the timing of it, so that when we did meet, it was just like magic.
Wow.
So that definitely was a work of an act of God to like make sure that we were in this space, because he knew like that the work that we were going to be able to do together. And then I think he also knew, based on our prayers, like our individual prayers to God for the kind of things we wanted in our lives that have been absent in our lives and in our love lives up until now, that you know, he was going to answer those prayers with each other.
And to add to that, the reason why we're doing this is because we feel like this is, you know, a part of, you know, what God wants us to do, help others in the community, you know, and whoever is in relationships, whoever is married or is engaged, about to get married, you know, we want to just be able to not only share our stories, but hear other people's stories, and also, you know, implement some sort of, you know, information or whatever that we can provide so that people can learn from and grow, which is more important. So, yeah. That's it.
That's it?
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you
Oh, thank y'all.
for everything.
Yeah.
All right, we good?
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
That's good, huh?
It was good.
Yeah.